I'd rather have freedom than security. There has to be a possibility of failure if I'm going to succeed. Because the only way to actually get to success is through failure. If I avoid failure, I'll never get to success. In school, we're taught that failure and success are opposites. That if you fail, that's the opposite of success. When really you have to go through failure in order to truly get success. Those are those nuggets you were dropping earlier, Diana. You have to go through failure in order to get to success. Every time you hit failure and adversity, that's a learning moment that you need to get to the place that you're actually going. But if we avoid the failure, which I've done before, because that's what I was trained to do, avoid failure, avoid failure. Please, at least just give me a 70. Please give me a 70. Not knowing that those classes that I failed over the time taught me more than anything. Got to go through the failure, embrace failure. There's a book called Go for No. I highly suggest it. It's about 90 pages or less. It's a very, 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 very short book. But he talks about going for no and like the psychology behind failure. So there's like levels to it. First is accepting that there is failure. And I think the last one, no, then it goes, there's like four different levels. I know recognizing that there is failure. You have to fail to succeed. And then there's embracing failure. And then finally, there's multiplying failure, adding other people to your failure. So you can even get to success even faster like that. Okay, the next one says, with the job, I'm my only income producing asset. What that means is if I'm not working, if I'm not producing, I'm not going to get money. I was just on paternity leave because I just had a new son. I had to go back to work because I ran out of days. So that I went over by 2 days. So they're going to take from my paycheck because I was out too long because I wasn't there in that classroom producing. As opposed to my business, after I build my business system, after I turn my business prosper into an asset, I plan for it to run without me. I plan to be able to be gone for months at a time and my business still run. It's not there yet, but I see that already. An asset is something that, an income producing asset, it's something that produces assets. This is something that we'll have to talk about here soon. But there are two ways of making money, active and passive. We've been trained mostly in the active side of making money, whether it is having a job or maybe having a business, a normal business like a mom and pop store. Like there's an amazing Chinese restaurant over here, Walk One. But every time I go there, I feel dirty because I keep on seeing the same people working in there every day in and day out. And they're working 12-hour shifts because they have a business, but they don't have a passive asset. They don't have a business system. Instead of now being slave to a boss, they're a slave to their business. They're slaves to my orders. If I order right now, they'll be here in less than 30 minutes. We want to create not just a business, but a business system, something that can kind of run without us, something that can that we have systems that are interchangeable. A great book for that I recommend is Rich Dad Poor Dad and The Four Quadrants by Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad Poor Dad is the most popular business book of all time. It's been the number one in business for the last I don't know, over 20 years, probably like 30 years now. So I highly suggest reading that one. Let's talk about this success formula that I have right here. So this is my personal formula for success. I don't know if I've ever heard it exactly like this, but the brain is mindset plus the right vehicle. So that means that the right way to make money, no matter how good my mindset is. If my vehicle is working a job like being a teacher, I'm on salary, so I'm going to make the same amount of money. So the right vehicle, and then plus the right work, which goes back to the mindset. So mindset plus the right vehicle plus the right work, raised to the power of. A lot of people might say multiply by, but I think it's raised to the power of, and I put it to the power of time because if you know anything about an exponential function, I haven't talked about this at all. Exponential function. We've been taught that life is linear. Every year your salary is supposed to increase, it's supposed to go up in increments. Anytime you have a job, that's kind of how you live. You live incrementally. The issue is that's not how the value of money works. That's not how inflation works. That's not how you're seeing your bills work. Your bills are working exponentially. Your bills are multiplying while your salary is adding. That's what linear growth is. It's addition, adding, 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 adding. While life, everything else, let's think about your health. If you have, let's say someone that you know with quote unquote bad health, maybe they had a stroke or something like that. There was probably some bad habits that were going on in the background that that was going on, but there was nothing. You didn't notice anything until it seemed like all of a sudden, boom, the bad health came out of nowhere. Or the bad relationship. It seemed like, oh man, all of a sudden him and her just started fighting in the streets. No, they were arguing and bickering and had some bad habits in the back end that we didn't see. Until then, it came out in public. It's the same thing for your business. In the beginning, you're going to have the right mindset, the right work, the right vehicle, but it's going to seem like nothing is happening. It's going to seem like you're putting in a bunch of work, a bunch of time, a bunch of whatever, knowledge, but very little is happening. It takes time for that to actually catch up and start to multiply and double and triple until you start seeing exponential results. And that's the last part of that equation. After you give it the proper amount of time and you get your the results to catch up with the input, that's when you have success. Equals success. Equals success. Right. And then the last thing, the possibility of failure is essential to success. I kind of talked about that. Just remember, if you ever wonder why you're afraid of failure, you're trained to be afraid of failure. You wouldn't be where you are today and have the level of success if you weren't really good at avoiding failure to some degree. Because that's how we got through college, by avoiding failure, by passing classes and things like that. Yeah, that one is that's one of the hardest ones to get over, is that failure one, because it's ingrained to us so much to avoid failure. But let's think about, how did you learn to walk? If you have to fall. You have to fall. But if you avoid the falling, you'll never learn to walk. You've been in a wheelchair to this day. 39 years old, rolling, rolling around in a wheelchair. By choice, not by circumstance. I prayed about it. This walking thing, it just wasn't for me. Yeah, if you want more success in life, if you want to help more people, we got to learn to embrace failure. That's why a lot of the people that we see that are major successes, they've hit rock bottom first. Any feedback there?
Yeah, proud of all you guys. Definitely excited to see.
Feedback on this first.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I second everything. I have very similar mindset to Ian. That's why we're together. We differ in certain ways, but the foundational stuff we agree on. So I approve this message.
Awesome.
Um, I just thought of two things. Number one, I went to an intermediate school where the slogan was failure is not an option.
Oh, oh,
In A-Lee, remember Budewig? I don't know if that's still a thing, but just the whole failure thing, I just thought of that. And then
Mm.
also I think the fact that we have to be told, like as teachers or even as parents, hey, when your child fails, remember to respond by focusing on their effort and not the result. Like, hey, I know you worked really hard on that, versus, uh, oh, great, you got 100, or whatever, or you got an A or something like that. The
yeah.
fact that we have to say that, you know, it shows that not everyone is doing that. And then number two, I thought what you said right here, whatever we don't make a system for will lead us to be a part of someone else's. And I know that when I started my other business years ago, I struggled for years. Like, I felt so bad. Every time anyone mentioned like the education school system and how, you know, this and that, and I was like, that's that's crazy for me to think, because it's hard to question the system that you grew up in or your childhood, because part of it is almost like questioning who you are and what you know. And that's difficult for anyone. I guess I'm just speaking personally, but I struggled a lot with that at the beginning with my other business, and immersing myself in that system and in that environment. So similar, as we all, build our own systems, it can be a bit of a challenge, especially when we believe so strongly about something and family may not agree, or your close circle of friends right now or acquaintances right now, they may support you, but deep down they're like plotting our our fall. This is all just none of this has happened for me, by the way, but um I just know, speaking to other entrepreneurs and those that are like-minded, that tends to be the story. And I know Paris has told me hey, just get ready. You know? Um, so yeah, I just thought just to that.
Okay. Yeah. I definitely like you to jump back in there. Just real quick, do you remember the name of the book that talks about what you're talking about, getting a 100 as opposed to, no, congratulating the effort as opposed to congratulating the result? The name
I don't remember.
mindset.
Oh, by
Sure.
Carol Dweck.
Here we go. Here
There we
exactly.
go.
But one thing I'll add to that, you talked about just it attacking your core, your core. I know for me, it's like when I turned 25, I basically woke up and my mind started to change. I was still having the same behaviors, but like I talked about earlier, I started to step out of those behaviors and observe what was going on while I was doing some of those things. I'm like, oh wow, what's going on here? What was that? Anyways, but I would say now as I almost said I was 38, as a 36-year-old man, my core beliefs, my main beliefs are completely the opposite of what they were at 38.
At
If
25.
At 25, I'm sorry, at 25, they're completely different. A lot of people they'll blind themselves to the truth because they're afraid of, like you said, alienating yourself to even adopting new beliefs. But how open-minded are you to new truth? That's something that we all have to examine ourselves with. I was listening to something today. Is a guy who's on a YouTube video. He said, "This next part, if you're not looking to change right now, don't even listen to it." And I'm like, "Let me maybe skip now." I'm like, "No, let me go ahead. Let me go ahead and hop on this." But yeah, so I just doing so we all have that in us, that resistance to change and things like that, but we have to make sure that we embrace the truth over what our current beliefs are, because how many things have we come to knowledge of that were completely false before. One thing for me was, I went to, I was, I've been in the A-Leaf school district. That's where I went to school. I went to Hastings High School. I graduated from there, and now I started working in the A-Leaf school district as well. A belief that I had was, oh man, like I am going to live in the A-Leaf area for the rest of my life. I want to do that. So as I succeed, people can see somebody from here succeeding. I am going to put my children in A-Leaf schools. I am going to um, just support this their mission and cause and their purpose forever. I didn't even realize I went to school, A-Leaf Independent School District. I love a map, but my dumb self didn't even like study what was happening. I didn't even live in A-Leaf. I was from Mission Bend. I just went to an A-Leaf Independent School District. That's why the word is independent. It's independent of the area. It's its own separate entity. It's its own company. But I pledge my allegiance to this made up institution that's not even a real thing. Even if we think about the school system as we know it is only 150 years old. People have been succeeding for thousands of years without it. That's why what we're doing is so important, because we're showing that there are other ways to learn besides just going to school. Yes, going to school can be important as well. Not saying that. But when we look at when we go and research Horace Mann and things like that, do you align with the person's belief that created the system? That's Horace Mann for the audience. Google the name and what he stood for. So, but yeah, so I realized, I'm like, oh, that's a false belief that I have. I'm not even from this area that I'm claiming so hard. I'm from up the corner. I just went to that institution. So I was institutionalized.